So today I learned about a national tragedy. Young folks are just not having sex. Call the presses. Call the president. As you can see on The Atlantic, there's an article here with a bee and a bird, and I assume that's a visual metaphor for the birds and the bees. Why are young people having so little sex? Despite the easing of taboos and the rise of hookup apps, America is in the midst of a sex recession. This article is by a Kate Julian, December 2018 issue, and here it says, "These should be boom times for sex." The share of Americans who say sex between unmarried adults is not wrong at all is at an all-time high. New cases of HIV are at an all-time low. Most women can at least get both control for free and the morning after pill without a prescription. If hookups are your thing, Grindr and Tinder offer the prospect of casual sex within the hour. If the phrase "something exists, there's porn of it" used to be a clever internet meme, now it's truism. BDSM plays at the local multiplex. But why bother going? Sex is portrayed often graphically and sometimes gorgeously on primetime cable. Sexting is, statistically speaking, normal. So okay, according to recent statistics, basically people are just not having sex. They're not having sex. You know, it's an interesting time in America where younger folk are actually more conservative in their habits, and that includes having sex. Having less sex in this case, I don't think anyone is really surprised. I mean, you don't really need to look anywhere further than 4chan to know that the youth today are not having sex. Ooh, boy. What's that I see there? You know, and that's all fine and well. But then, that's when the article goes full retard. Polyamory is a household word. Shame Latin terms like perversion have given way to cheerful sounding ones like kink. Anal sex has gone from final taboo to fifth base. Teen Vogue, yes, Teen Vogue even ran a guide to it, with the exception of perhaps incest and bestiality. And of course, non-sexual sex. More generally, our culture has never been more tolerant of sex in just about every permutation. Okay, first of all, polyamory is it's degeneracy. Okay, I gotta say, I have little respect for cucks. And for people who let themselves be cucked.
Getting cucked is actually an alpha move.
So I can't say polyamory is normal. I don't think the normal person would tolerate it. The article says, but despite all this, American teenagers and young adults are having less sex. To the relief of many parents, educators, and clergy members who care about the health and well-being of young people, teens are launching their sex lives later. From 1991 to 2017, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's Youth Risk Behavior Survey finds the percentage of high school students who've had intercourse dropped from 54% to 40%. In other words, in the space of a generation, sex has gone from something most high school students have experienced to something most haven't. Rates of oral sex have about stayed the same. The U.S. teen pregnancy rate has plummeted to a third of its modern high, decline of which started in the 1990s. Whether an unambiguously good thing may have roots in less salubrious developments. Signs are gathering that the delay in teen sex may have been the first indication of a broader withdrawal from physical intimacy that extends well into adulthood. Over the past few years, Jean M. Twenge, a psychology professor at San Diego State University, has published research exploring how and why American sex lives may be ebbing. In a series of journal articles in her latest book, iGen, she notes that today's young adults are on track to have fewer sex partners than members of two preceding generations. People now in their early 20s are 2.5 times as likely to be abstinent as Gen Xers were at that age. 15% report having no sex since they reached adulthood. So I'm not going to read all of this, of course. It's a rather long article, and it basically goes on and on about how people are just not having sex anymore. And you know what I think? I think it's actually really simple. The times are changing. We've reached a point in American society where it's clear that as a man, you are not as safe. In the day and age of the Me Too movement and false accusations, it's insanely risky for any man to be with a woman. Thanks to feminism, thanks to this ideology that's been going on, it's gotten so bad, the anti-male mentality in modern society, that men, and I remember a story about this, the men are actually too afraid to help women or help children because it'll be seen as suspicious because they're men. Okay, because apparently all men are dogs, all men are evil, degenerate beings. So, you know, maybe that's just one of the reasons people are having less sex. Maybe they see the degeneracy of the modern world, of all this pushing for, oh, sleep with a bunch of people, hookup culture, all that crap. Maybe they're rejecting it. Maybe we're actually seeing some prudence, some decency in modern society. Now, further highlighting my argument here is an excerpt from this article that goes into Japan. For nearly a decade, stories in the Western press have tied Japan's sexual funk to a rising generation of sushoku danshi, literally grass-eating boys. These herbivore men, as they are known in English, are said to be ambivalent about pursuing either women or conventional success. The new taxonomy of Japanese sexlessness also includes terms for groups such as hikikomori, shut-in, parasito shinguru, parasite singles, people who live with their parents beyond their 20s, and otaku, obsessive fans, especially of anime and manga, all of whom are said to contribute to Sekusu Shinai Shukogun celibacy syndrome. Early on, most Western accounts of all of this had a heavy subtext of, isn't Japan wacky? This tone is slowly given away to the realization that the country's experience might be less of a curiosity than a cautionary tale. And this is the important part where they point out what I've kind of been pointing out. Dismal employment prospects played an initial role in driving many men to solitary pursuits, but the culture has since moved to accommodate and even encourage those pursuits. Ronald Keltz, a Japanese-American writer and longtime Tokyo resident, has described a generation that found the imperfect or just unexpected demands of real-world relationships with women less enticing than the lure of virtual libido. Okay, this is absolute garbage. Let me spell it out for you guys. Today, women are doing better than men in school. There's more women with degrees, there's more women in school, women have the upper hand. These days, there's more women being hired for jobs because of quotas, because of pushing diversity, because of programs specifically to help women, and only women. In fact, men do actually face problems, discrimination, child custody cases. None of those are equal and largely favor the woman. These days, feminism is pushing toxic ideology that is encouraging man-hating and encourages putting people down. These are the real reasons, with some of the rise of feminism in the Japanese culture, why these men exist. Why they're dropping out, why they're saying, screw it, I'm not going to put up with this economy, and I'm not going to put up with this disrespect. It's not worth it. And this is happening all over the world. I would argue that, especially in America, this is precisely why you're seeing a divide. Oh, yeah, and here's one good point the article does mention. Unless you are exceptionally good looking, the thing online dating me best at is sucking up large amounts of time. And yeah, I remember that study. There was a study by, I think it was OkCupid, called Your Looks in Your Inbox, and it basically showed how men view women on a natural bell curve. In other words, most men see most women as average, with some women as being beautiful, and some women as being on the less beautiful side. However, women, on the other hand, see the vast majority of men as below average, and about 20% of men as either acceptable or good looking. So in other words, women are shallow, men are fair, and that's the reality you got to deal with. If you're average, you're ugly to a woman. You're not good enough. They view most men as not good enough. That's a disturbing reality, but I think that has less to do with culture and more to do with evolution. Women are designed to seek out the best genes. Looks are an indicator of health and other things. That's not so surprising. And, this article goes on and on and on. But it is an interesting subject. It's definitely an interesting subject. I personally don't think it's a big shock. I can point to you the cultural reasons that this may be happening and why it's going on. And it's nothing to do with, definitely nothing to do with porn. Maybe it's a part of it, I don't know. But it's definitely to do with all of this ideology, with all of this man-hatred, with all of this imbalance we have in modern society that says women are better, women are more important, screw the men. Well, that about wraps up the story for today. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to read the entire thing. A bit too long for me. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching, as always. This has been Mr. Obvious, bringing you the obvious. I'll see you all next time.